You thought heaven had lost your file, but heaven was just preparing the perfect stage for your answer. The prayer you released in your season of breaking has now become the exact blueprint for your season of rising. You are carrying the deep exhaustion of having hoped for so long that you eventually stopped asking. You have felt the quiet guilt, wondering if your faith just wasn't strong enough. You have endured the silent sting of watching others receive their breakthroughs, while your specific request remained entirely untouched. I am not speaking to the crowd today. I am speaking directly to you, because I just witnessed a shift in the heavenly atmosphere regarding your long-forgotten petitions. Look at me. I am not here to offer you another religious cliché. I am here as a spiritual sentry, sent to confirm what your spirit already knows. That specific memory of crying out in an empty room, that journal entry written years ago that you closed and hid away, that prayer whispered in a moment of absolute brokenness, none of it was ignored. By the end of this message, you will understand the exact spiritual mechanism of why it took so long, and you will see the absolute evidence that your season of sudden manifestation is already in motion. I also searched for answers when the heavy, crushing burden of delayed hope almost broke me. I understand the spiritual fatigue of walking blindly without a single visible sign. I know what it is to feel that the ground is just swallowing your tears while heaven remains silent. I searched the scriptures and the spiritual realms for an explanation, and I discovered a revelation that changed everything. I found the exact spiritual blueprint that explains the law of the tipping bowl, the truth that your prayers were never ignored, they were being stored. I gathered this revelation along with the precise spiritual framework to position yourself for the sudden alignment, and I placed it all inside a digital book called The 7 Spiritual Reasons Why the Chosen Face So Much Envy. This isn't just a book, it is your essential spiritual armor for the impending season of sudden manifestation. You need to protect this massive answered prayer from the attacks of the envious one, who will inevitably try to ruin the harvest you waited years to receive. If you are tired of carrying the quiet guilt and the exhaustion alone, go to the pinned comment right now and secure your digital book. Do not wait. The link is waiting for you in the first pinned comment below. We are about to enter a revelation that requires your complete spiritual attention. I need you to stay with me for just 3 more minutes. If you can give me 3 minutes, I will show you exactly how the heavenly archives operate and why the delay was actually a divine accumulation required to shift a massive spiritual blockade in your life. Before we go deeper, if my voice has ever been a spiritual compass for you in your darkest days, I ask you to sow into this ministry. There is a thanks button right below this video. Your voluntary contribution allows me to keep standing on this watchtower, bringing these prophetic decrees to you every single day. If you cannot give right now, do not worry. My blessing over your life remains exactly the same. But if you feel the tug in your spirit, click the thanks button now. I will wait for you there. Now listen carefully to what the Spirit is revealing. Close your eyes for a second, or at least look away from the screen. Let my voice be the only thing anchoring you in this moment. The spiritual realm operates through precise alignments, and there are frequencies of the Spirit that can only be captured when we remove the distractions of the natural world. I want you to pay close attention to what your spirit is about to feel. I am going to describe 5 distinct things to you right now. If I am right about at least 3 of them, you and I will know exactly why the Holy Spirit stopped your scrolling and brought you here today. The first sign is the sudden wave of spiritual exhaustion that hits you when you look back at how long you have been waiting. You can point to a specific season, perhaps years ago, when you prayed with a fire and a certainty that moved the heavens. But as the months turned into years, that fiery petition slowly turned into a silent, heavy sigh. You did not abandon your faith, but you simply grew too tired to keep asking for that specific breakthrough, quietly convincing yourself that perhaps it just wasn't the Lord's timing. The second sign is the painful contrast you have had to endure while watching the people around you step into their seasons of harvest. You have clapped for others, celebrating their promotions, their restorations, and their answered prayers, while your own specific request remained entirely untouched. There is a quiet sting, a hidden grief that you have never spoken out loud, where you find yourself wondering if your faith just wasn't strong enough, or if the heavens simply lost the file containing your deepest tears. The third sign is the deep sense of isolation you feel within your own bloodline and among those closest to you. Your family members do not understand the weight of the spiritual warfare you are navigating. To them, your long season of waiting looks like stagnation or failure, and their words often carry a subtle, stinging judgment. You have had to carry the burden of this delayed hope entirely alone, masking the spiritual fatigue because the people living under your own roof cannot perceive the immense pressure building up. And regarding that prayer you whispered in absolute brokenness years ago that you recognize just now, you need the right protection to not lose everything. There is a precise mechanism to shield this. The link is waiting for you in the first pinned comment. The fourth sign is the inexplicable spiritual pressure that has been building up around you over the past few weeks. It feels as though something massive is shifting just beneath the surface of your reality, yet your physical eyes cannot see a single piece of evidence. You are waking up in the middle of the night with a restless urgency in your spirit, a prophetic stirring that tells you a cycle is coming to an abrupt end. It is the spiritual friction of a massive accumulation of prayers about to violently break open. The fifth sign is a recurring, almost haunting memory of a specific promise or covenant you made with God when you were at your lowest point. It is a journal entry you closed and hid away, or a tear-soaked pillow that no one else ever saw. The enemy has tried to use that memory to mock you, whispering that you were foolish to believe. But that memory keeps surfacing not to condemn you, but because the heavenly archives are currently pulling up that exact petition to manifest it. Now take a second. How many of these 5 signs resonated with your spirit? 3? 4? All 5 of them? If at least 3 of these signs accurately described your hidden reality, then you already know that this message is for you. It is a divine interception. You have been walking exposed to the elements of spiritual delay, but the Lord is stepping in to change the atmosphere of your life. There is a reason why the heavens are moving on this now, and there is a specific prophetic covering that you must step into. We are talking about the secret place of the Most High, the shadow of the Almighty described in Psalm 91, where the sudden manifestation of your answered prayer cannot be touched, stolen, or ruined by the envious forces tracking your life. You must understand how to secure the borders. This is why I gathered the precise spiritual blueprint that explains the law of the tipping bowl and the exact mechanisms of your long-awaited answer. I placed this entire revelation inside a digital book called The 7 Spiritual Reasons Why the Chosen Face So Much Envy. It is not just text, it is the essential spiritual armor required to protect this sudden, massive breakthrough from the attacks of the envious one, who will inevitably try to intercept your harvest. The link is in the first pinned comment below. Before I show you the instrument of coverage that will shield the manifestation of your delayed prayers and protect this massive divine accumulation from the enemy's interference, I need to give you the name of what you carry, because the shield only makes sense after you know the exact name of the target. And there is a Hebrew word that exactly defines this immediate, decisive action God is taking, a word that recontextualizes everything I just described to you in the last few minutes. The first layer of the secret is about to shatter everything you thought you knew. The signs have aligned perfectly. You are standing in the exact gap between being a chosen vessel and being spiritually covered, and the envious one knows this. The seal of this hour has been seen in the heavenly realms, which is why the attacks against your peace have suddenly escalated. You are not losing your mind. You are just unprotected at the precise moment when your spiritual bowl of accumulated prayers is tipping over to pour out the manifestation you have awaited for years. I have walked through this exact valley of silent accumulation, feeling the crushing weight of unanswered prayers while everyone else celebrated their harvest. I know the sting of that hidden guilt, wondering if heaven had misplaced my file or if my faith was defective. But the Lord took me into the depths of His Word to show me how He preserves our groans, revealing that the delay was never a denial, but a necessary build-up of spiritual pressure. Because I have crossed that desert and seen the sudden, violent breakthrough of His timing, I carry the spiritual authority to tell you that your season of waiting is over, and your season of rising requires immediate protection. You do not have to endure the quiet sting of watching others receive their breakthroughs anymore. You do not have to carry the deep exhaustion of hoping in the dark while your specific request remains untouched. You do not have to let the enemy steal the sudden manifestation that God is releasing right now. If you believe that the heavenly archives have finally opened your file and that your season of delayed hope is ending today, declare it right now by pressing the like button on this video. That simple action is a prophetic agreement that you are ready to receive the answers that were stored up for you. There is a divine blueprint that explains the law of the tipping bowl, revealing how your tears and whispered prayers have gathered mass in the spiritual realm. I have documented the exact spiritual mechanisms that will break open your silent season and position you for a sudden alignment, ensuring that the heavy burden of your delayed hope transforms into an undeniable testimony. I place this entire revelation inside a digital book called The 7 Spiritual Reasons Why the Chosen Face So Much Envy. This digital book is the exact prophetic instrument you need right now to secure the borders of your impending harvest before the next 72 hours unfold. Because he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. This is the exact covering that preserved those who waited in dungeons and pits until their sudden manifestation arrived without the enemy being able to devour it. It was exactly in pursuit of this answer that I arrived at this digital book called The 7 Spiritual Reasons Why the Chosen Face So Much Envy. Tap the link right now. It is waiting for you in the first pinned comment. And if you are among the first to secure your copy, you will step immediately into this prophetic covering. For less than the price of a generic cup of coffee that you drink while feeling the silent sting of isolation, you can acquire the exact spiritual blueprint that unlocks your heavenly archives. For less than what you spend on a fast food meal that leaves you empty, you can secure the prophetic armor that protects your long-forgotten petitions. For less than the cost of a random subscription that distracts you from your pain, you can position yourself for the sudden, violent breakthrough of your accumulated prayers. The enemy will whisper that you have waited too long and that nothing will ever change, trying to use your exhaustion to make you hesitate, but that is only because he is terrified of the immense pressure that is about to break through your surface. And it has a 7-day guarantee. If you open this digital book and your spirit does not immediately recognize the profound shift in the heavenly atmosphere regarding your forgotten petitions, you can simply ask for your investment back. You have absolutely nothing to lose, but if you choose to ignore this divine sequence of events, you risk walking blindly into the season of sudden manifestation without the covering required to keep the envious one from ruining the harvest you waited years to receive. Several chosen ones here on the channel have already experienced this exact shift. One brother was carrying the quiet guilt of feeling like his faith wasn't strong enough, watching his specific prayers go unanswered for a decade, until he applied these principles and saw a massive spiritual blockade shatter overnight. A sister was exhausted from watering a seemingly dead patch of earth with her tears, but once she understood the law of the tipping bowl, the invisible reservoir of pressure violently broke through the surface, bringing a sudden restoration she thought was impossible. Another chosen one was enduring the silent sting of watching others receive their breakthroughs, entirely isolated, until this prophetic covering aligned her timing perfectly, and the prayer she released in her season of breaking became the exact blueprint for her season of rising. They secured their covering. Now the heavens are requiring the same decision from you. Will you step into the shadow of the Almighty? Or will you remain exposed to the heavy, crushing burden of delayed hope, while your own family and the people living under your roof cannot even perceive the immense pressure building up inside you? Before we continue, if my voice has been a spiritual compass for you in your darkest days, I ask you to sow into this ministry. There is a thanks button right below this video. Your voluntary contribution allows me to keep standing on this watchtower, bringing these prophetic decrees to you every single day. If you cannot give right now, do not worry. My blessing over your life remains exactly the same. But if you feel the tug in your spirit, click the thanks button now. I will wait for you there again. But do not leave now. Stay. If you step away from this frequency, you will miss the exact word that explains what God is doing with your forgotten prayers for the next 12 months. The first layer of the secret was just the beginning. The second layer involves a specific Hebrew word that recontextualizes every single tear you have ever cried in the dark. I want you to look closely at the life of Joseph of Egypt, because his story is the exact mirror of the spiritual season you are navigating right now. Joseph was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and eventually locked away in a dark, forgotten Egyptian dungeon. I can guarantee you that Joseph prayed for deliverance in that pit. I can assure you that he cried out for intervention in the suffocating darkness of that prison. And for years, all he received was absolute, crushing silence. He helped the cupbearer, believing this was his ticket out, but the cupbearer completely forgot him. It seemed as though heaven had permanently misplaced his file, but God did not ignore Joseph's prayer. God was employing the law of the tipping bowl. You see, the delay was not a denial. The delay was a divine strategy of preservation. If God had answered Joseph's prayer the moment he asked, Joseph would have been released early, returning home as merely a free shepherd. But because God held the answer until the precise night the Pharaoh had a disturbing dream, Joseph didn't just step out of a prison, he stepped out to rule an empire. Heaven wasn't ignoring him. Heaven was orchestrating the exact timing required for a massive manifestation. And this brings us to a profound mystery hidden in the original language of the scriptures. There is a specific Hebrew word that explains exactly what is happening with your delayed prayers right now. That word is zakar. Zakar. In modern languages, we translate this simply as to remember. But in the biblical Hebrew context, when God remembers or performs zakar, it is never a passive mental recall. It does not mean God suddenly remembered something he had forgotten. No. Zakar means that God is taking immediate, decisive, and covenant-keeping action. When the Bible says God remembered Rachel or God remembered Noah, the very next verse always shows a massive, miraculous intervention. God has zakar your old prayer. He has not merely recalled it. He is actively moving the pieces right now, shifting the earthly and spiritual elements to bring it to pass. Think of the allegory of the underground spring. For years, you watered a seemingly dead patch of earth with your tears, your fasts and your prayers. On the surface, it looked like nothing was happening. You honestly thought the ground was just swallowing your efforts and your faith. But deep underground, every single tear and every whispered prayer was accumulating, building an invisible reservoir of immense pressure. Now, the foundation is cracking. The spring is about to break through the surface violently and abundantly. The silence wasn't emptiness. It was the accumulation of pressure. Your zakar moment has arrived, and the very prayer you thought was buried and forgotten is about to become the blueprint for your greatest rising. There is a word in the ancient biblical Hebrew that defines exactly what is shifting in the heavenly atmosphere over your life today. That word is zakar. Religion has taught us to translate it simply as to remember. But in the biblical Hebrew context, when God remembers, it is never a passive mental recall. When God operates in zakar, it means he is taking immediate, decisive, and covenant-keeping action. God has zakar your old prayer. He has not just remembered your tears. He is actively moving the spiritual and physical pieces right now to bring that long-forgotten petition to pass. For years, you watered a seemingly dead patch of earth with your tears and prayers. On the surface, it looked like nothing was happening. You thought the ground was just swallowing your efforts. But deep underground, those drops were accumulating, building an invisible reservoir of immense pressure. Now the foundation is cracking, and the spring is about to break through the surface violently and abundantly. But this is exactly where your greatest spiritual vulnerability lies. According to the mystery of Revelation chapter 5, verse 8, there are golden bowls full of incense in the heavenly realms, which are the prayers of the saints. The spiritual law demands that the bowls must be filled before they are poured out over the earth. Your prayers were not ignored, they were accumulating, and right now, your bowl is tipping. You are standing at the threshold of the impending season of sudden manifestation. The exact moment, the spiritual lock clicks open, and years of waiting are resolved in a divine sequence of events. However, because the envious one can see this massive accumulation tipping in the spiritual realm, he is launching a desperate final assault against your peace. He wants to ruin the harvest you waited years to receive before it even reaches your hands. You cannot step into this season of sudden manifestation spiritually exposed. You need the precise prophetic blueprint to shield what God is releasing. I have placed this exact spiritual armor inside a digital book called The 7 Spiritual Reasons Why the Chosen Face So Much Envy. It is your essential covering to protect this massive answered prayer from any demonic interception. Go to the first pinned comment below this video and secure your digital book right now. Do not wait until the attack escalates. The link is waiting for you in the first pinned comment. When the heavenly bowl of your accumulated incense finally tips over, when the massive spiritual blockade holding back your answer is violently shattered, and when the exact moment of your sudden manifestation clicks open in the spirit realm, you must be fully armed to protect what is being released. It is exactly to shield this divine sequence of events that you need the digital book called The 7 Spiritual Reasons Why the Chosen Face So Much Envy. This is the precise spiritual covering required to defend your long-awaited harvest against the envious forces that will inevitably try to intercept it. Go to the first pinned comment below and secure your digital book right now. There is a specific word the Lord instructed me to release over your life today, and it is the Hebrew word zakar. In your modern Bible, it is often simply translated as to remember. But in the original biblical Hebrew context, when God zakar, it is never a passive mental recall. It is not God just thinking about you or acknowledging your existence from afar while leaving you in your current situation. When God zakar, it means he is taking immediate, decisive and covenant-keeping action. Hear this prophetically. God has zakar, that old prayer you whispered in the dark. He has not forgotten you. He is actively moving the pieces right now to bring your deliverance to pass. I need you to visualize what has actually been happening in the unseen realm. Think of the underground spring. For years, you watered a seemingly dead patch of earth with your tears, your silent groans, and your prayers. On the surface, it looked like absolutely nothing was happening. You thought the dry ground was just swallowing your efforts, that your petitions were simply vanishing into the air, and heaven was silent. But deep underground, every single one of those drops was accumulating. You were building an invisible reservoir of immense pressure in the spiritual realm, and right now, the foundation is cracking. The spring is about to break through the surface violently and abundantly. You must understand the spiritual law of the tipping bowl. Your prayers were never ignored, they were being stored. Revelation 5:8 speaks of the golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. Those bowls must be filled to the brim before they are poured out over the earth. The delay you experienced was not a denial. It was a divine accumulation required to shift a massive spiritual blockade that was standing in the way of your future. The bowl has finally tipped. You are stepping into an impending season of sudden manifestation. The exact moment the spiritual lock clicks open is here, and the years of waiting are about to be resolved in a divine sequence of events that will leave your enemies completely paralyzed. I want you to imagine the voice of the Father speaking directly to your spirit right now. He is looking at the deep exhaustion you have carried from hoping for so long, and he sees the exact moment you cried out in that empty room. He is telling you, "My child, the delay was not a denial. The bowl is full, and the heavens are tipping over your life today. Because he has spoken this over you, I am standing here as a sentry to give you the final warning, which is exactly why I need you to understand something vital before we finish. You are stepping into a massive season of answered prayers, and you cannot walk into it without the proper spiritual covering. You need the digital book, The 7 Spiritual Reasons Why the Chosen Face So Much Envy. This is the essential spiritual armor required to protect your sudden manifestation from the attacks of the envious one. This digital book costs less than a single fast food meal that leaves you feeling empty, yet it will guard the massive harvest you have waited years to receive. It costs less than a cheap streaming subscription you use to distract yourself from the spiritual fatigue, but it delivers the exact prophetic covering needed to secure your divine manifestation. Go to the first pinned comment right now and secure your digital book. The law of the tipping bowl is already in motion. The spiritual lock is clicking open, and the sudden manifestation of your forgotten petition is unfolding. Do not leave your answered prayer exposed to the elements. Click the link in the pinned comment below and arm yourself before the envious forces try to intercept what heaven has just released. In the next video, I'm going to reveal the exact spiritual strategy the enemy uses to delay the breakthroughs of the chosen, and how you can permanently break that cycle. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you do not miss this revelation. If my voice has ever been a spiritual compass for you in your darkest days, I ask you to sow into this ministry. There is a thanks button right below this video. Your voluntary contribution allows me to keep standing on this watchtower, bringing these prophetic decrees to you every single day. If you cannot give right now, do not worry. My blessing over your life remains exactly the same. But if you feel the tug in your spirit, click the thanks button now. This was my last request. I will wait for you there. If you know this message was a divine interception for your life, type, "The bowl is tipping" in the comments right now. Like this video to seal your agreement with the heavenly archives. The prayer you released in your season of breaking has now become the exact blueprint for your season of rising. I see the heavy, crushing burden of delayed hope lifting off your shoulders as you step out of the shadows to claim the harvest you watered with your tears.